All right, this is going to have to be a very careful video because it's just all full of hot words, and I'm going to use Israeli a lot to describe the people who are working on this kind of stuff because YouTube just picks up the words and it doesn't pick up vocal inflections and tone. It just picks up hot words and it just starts assigning you points. So it's kind of tricky. Click the links, join the channel here over at Subscribestar. Thanks everyone over there. I got a mailbox. I'm mailing you some comics by all means on delay. Pedro, get on that. So, voice actor fired for supporting the wrong side of the war. It's just kind of a case of woke SJWs eating each other online, where it's one branch of the left versus the other branch of the left, and it's funny. You can be on the right or whatever position you want to be in, and you think you're in a Israeli hating contest, but your opponent is Antifa. You're like, whoa, I thought I hated Israel. The far left, my God, we can learn something from you guys. You guys really hate them. So the left is in this weird split now with that conflict over there in that part of the world. It's interesting to watch. It's interesting to watch because it appears to be a real serious division between the left and there's something going on in Canada. It's freaking hysterical where there's this religion from that area of the world moving into Canada. See, it's such a bitch to try to talk around all this stuff. Like, this religion's moving into Canada, right? And all the BLT kids are online talking about like, well, this new religion, they're not really religion, 1400 years old, I'm talking about. They're in Canada and they're protesting because they don't want their kids being taught at government schools all this kind of globalist propaganda. And so all the left-wing Antifa kids are protesting the parents who are trying to take care of their kids, and these BLT kids are going like, oh yeah, these people are not tolerant, and we brought them into this country, with this open borders, and they're like, we're gonna have to deport them. You're like, good luck with that. You're not gonna do that because, that's like, it's where the left wing kind of went full circle. They they wanted this, and they don't believe in borders, man. It's like, yeah, but they don't want they want to raise the kids the way they want to raise them, and they don't want them to be brainwashed into all this gay stuff, and it's like that should be their right, to raise kids as they choose fit, and like you can raise your kids to believe all this kind of stuff if you want, and then these left wing kids look at you like, no, the government has to raise your kids, which means like they really really believe in that. They don't believe in agency and autonomy. Because they're socialists. It's like, yeah, they fully believe in the state brainwashing kids, but they're having this conflict up in Canada now between that religion and the kids, and then down in LA, it's the Latin population is also having a conflict with these BLT kids, and it's fabulous to watch. So let me just say that I support the correct side of this conflict, whatever that side turns out to be. I was in the hospital when this whole thing broke out, so it's like, I look at this like, can I just skip this whole thing? Like, just not, I don't have to pay attention to every single little thing. Unfortunately, it's like they're going to bring the war to your backyard because America is already mobilizing troops to go get involved in a foreign war 10,000 miles away. You go, why exactly are we getting involved? Janet Yellen of the $33 trillion in debt? Yeah. Oh, we can afford more war. No, we can't. Holy Weimar, Batman. Anyway, so Tara Strong of the giant, truly wonderful Milkers is a voice actor and was set to be the lead part in the upcoming Boxtown cartoon, More Bread and Circuses for the Cattle Debt Slaves to be distracted from. And she was using Twitter to support her side of the war, but to the far left SJWs, they have to publicly only support the other side of the war, even if privately they have different feelings, which I suspect is the case. So they fired her without telling her, no matter what side of this thing you fall on, that's pretty chicken shit. And they announced a new voice actor was needed instead of just handling all this behind the scenes quietly and like adults. Not a whole lot of adults around anymore. There's a lot of 40 and 50-year-olds, but they're not acting like adults. It doesn't bode well for the future. It's like, it doesn't bode well for the present, bucko. So she said, it's like just a bunch of whining children, but they're adults and they've got access to, they're shaping the narrative. It's just bizarre. It's just absolutely bizarre to see so many immature adults running around. Anyway, She said she was fired for supporting her nation, Israel, and being against the other religion, which she is. If you look through her Twitter, she's pretty upfront about it. She's not a fan of that other religion, but it's like, do you support free speech or not? You look at the left, and even some people on the right are like, no, we don't support free speech. We support our speech. The thing is, it's one thing to call someone offensive and not politically correct, but you have to notice that they don't call her a liar because some of the things she's saying about this topic are objectively true. And no, she wasn't fired for, I guess I'll say, for being an Israeli citizen, because everyone who's working on the show, who owns the production company, is also Israeli citizens. But the thing is, there's divisions within divisions within divisions, right? It's like that with Christianity. It's like that with all the other religions. It's like that with any identitarian group. And the left is going through a very serious schism right now, which is interesting to watch. But the thing is, they're on a different branch of that. They're further left, I guess you could say, than she is, where she's still a nationalist, but she's a nationalist for her country, Israel. And the left wing online is going back and forth about it, and there's a lot of virtue signaling going on. But it's all the public face, because in private, I think everyone's going to have their own different opinions in private. This stuff is just the public face of virtue signaling. People know which way the wind is blowing, and if they want to be firmly on the left, then they have to jump on board that, even if they are firm nationalists for their country. They just have to keep that on the down low, because that's not the left-wing position right now. The left-wing position is to be a globalist. No walls, no borders. And then if you go like, well, yeah, except for Israel, they're like, oh, well, you're just a nationalist. It's like, why are you a nationalist for that country but not for all these other countries? It's a contradiction. Anyway, the thing is, I support free speech. I support her right to support her country, just as like I support the other guy's rights to support their country. It's like either you support free speech, you say no, I only support speech for my side. No, I don't. Like I'm on the right in some regards, but I support all speech because I know we have the better ideas, and if we can we want our ideas heard. Like left wing ideas are garbage. That's why the left can't meme. So yeah, I want the open marketplace of ideas, where the most of the left wing is terrified of free speech, and some of the right wing thinks some things are off the table too. I don't know what kind of right wing you are. If you're not a liberal, not a libertarian, if you really don't believe in free speech, it's literally in the Constitution. Oh, no, you can't criticize some things. Like, yes, you can. That's the whole point of the whole Founding Fathers and everything. Maybe you want to reread that document and some of the writings of the fathers. Anyway, so these left-wingers are outraged online, or at least pretending to be. And I asked them, well, would you support having a new law where individuals are protected from being fired based on online speech, or from being political discrimination or whatnot for online speech, but also like that the platforms themselves have to allow free speech. You can't ban somebody without due process, because this is kind of the new town square. If you don't have free speech on social media platforms and online, then you really don't have free speech, and it's such an important part of this constitutional republic to have all voices heard, that you really have to have constitutional protections applied to social media forums and against employment discrimination. And that's where they stop when I start bringing that up, because they really don't support free speech. They only support speech for their side. Why not just have Congress pass a law protecting all speech online? You should be able to support Israel, Palestine, Nazis, or commies without being fired for your views. If you know you have better ideas, you want them all heard. I know we have better ideas. The left knows that they don't. They have to censor and deplatform because they don't know how to argue. They don't know how to engage. Like, can reasonable people disagree without being disagreeable? And the left will immediately engage in an ad hominem deflection and straw man. You're like, I'll take that as a no. You were taught what to think in government schools and by globalist media. You weren't taught how to think. My generation, more of us were taught how to think. And anyway, you don't have to agree with her to support her right to free speech. Let the best ideas rise to the top. So this company does something kind of creepy, 1984 style, and the left does this a lot with Nina Jankowicz and the Ministry of Truth. They refer to her anti-Abrahamic religious message, and they say that they have a duty to stop hateful messages and misinformation online, implying that her messages are both. And you go like, well, how do you? This happens to the left too, where they're Congress was grilling the Facebook lady, and they're going like, well, you were kicking off doctors from your social media platforms, people with research degrees and medical doctors and PhDs in research in this, that area that was going around the past 3 years. And you look at Facebook, it's like, so how were you qualified to kick off medical experts? And they didn't have an answer to it because social media knew which way they knew which way the narrative was going. It's like scientists will say whatever you pay them to say, whatever will keep them in funds is the truth of the matter. Anyway, so but with all social media, and they go misinformation, disinformation, like with Nina Jankowicz, it's this fundamental truth. It's been argued for like 2,000 years. You go, so who determines what the truth is? Oh, experts. So, would you trust right-wing experts? Oh, well, they're going to be impartial and biased. So then their whole history, their whole voting history, their whole personal history should be out on display. It's like you find out, oh, they're very firmly left-wing. Like a left-wing government is not going to put a balanced free speech checkers. So you're having a state authority fundamentally determine what the capital T truth is. Yes, that's right. Nina Jankowicz is going to do that. Well, isn't she biased? Of course she is. Like two men discussing ideas don't need a third party to get in between them and this in the form of the state to tell them what the experts are. And you look at the fact checkers online. It's like these are all firmly, obviously, objectively left-wing sources. There are no right-wing sources online because they're just not allowed by the machine. They get debanked. They get kicked off social media. You get the idea. It's like you're lying to us, and I'm gaslighting us is when they're openly lying to us. Anyway, so kids are so painfully brainwashed into political correctness these days that they won't think for themselves. They just find a celebrity like a Miley Cyrus type, and they jump on board whatever opinion she's on board with, and she's on board whatever opinion is going to be safe. This thing's a little bit different because you have a lot of Hollywood people who are going to be on board one side, where you have a lot of people who are out of Hollywood, they're left-wing people, and they're on board the other side, which is like the left-wing position is to be on board that other side of the marginalized and oppressed, not the oppressor type of thing. But the Hollywood people obviously have to be on board the other side, obviously. So it's kind of an interesting schism to watch people's hypocrisy. It's like Sacha Baron Cohen, Amy Schumer, and Jerry Seinfeld, and all these people are coming out like, we're firmly on this side. It's like, no shit. No doubt. Shocking you're on that side. I mean, it's like let them just like stand back and kind of cheer them on. Like whatever feeds oxygen into the fire. You want to be was it in The Hobbit where the trolls are fighting and the guy was impersonating their voices to get them to fight longer until the sun came up and turned them to stone? Anyway, so left-wingers today are absolutely terrified of free speech and diversity of thought because they never had to have those polite disagreements. In school, you go, okay, so now argue your opponent's opinion. We did that in high school and college all the time. And you tell left-wingers that today, and you look around the classroom, and it's all like rainbow flags and all this kind of nonsense and like black power fists. You're like, okay, so I'm ready to argue the opposite now. Is that going to be accepted? No, there is no opposite point of view. So this is just a cult. Yeah, of course it's just a cult. The left wing is a cult because they keep you from talking to outsiders. Oh, no. They keep from talking to outsiders. Like somebody goes to interview them, and the handlers will run up and try to stop them from being interviewed. And I've seen it a few times, and sometimes the people being interviewed tell these handlers to just go away. We can handle the interview, and like they don't know what to do. They just kind of like get nervous and like, but they'll chop up the interview, and the guy's like, no, the interviews are released. All 3 hours are released uncut online. Like, well, you'll twist the words. It's like, I don't edit the videos. They just go up online. And the guy being interviewed, and this handler, I remembered it was so brutal to watch a case of this. Like, you're in a cult, and it was this white chick, and she was trying to stop this black guy from being interviewed. And he's like, no, I can handle the interview. I'm okay. And she walks away, and then she comes back. She didn't know what to do. She was like rubbing her hands together and talking to other women. And it's just like, he can handle the interview. He's not a child. He doesn't need you to tell him what to say or not to speak to people. It's like we don't do interviews. Like, if you really believe in your position, why wouldn't you want to have a public relations person? Why wouldn't you have people openly discuss their ideas? Because that's not what these left-wing kids are all about. All they can do is get emotional, and they think the more dramatic they get, the better their virtue signal. So they grow up to be adults who still kind of act like children. It's like these SJW kids just turn into the adult Mark Wade types where, he has meltdowns in comic book stores with he was like throwing stuff around, and then he has meltdowns, where he's crying and raging, and just like bizarre. You should be institutionalized type of stuff, and you realize there's a lot of adults like that who are in their 40s and 50s now, because that participation trophy generation, the self-esteem generation for kids who were born somewhere in the 70s, maybe the 60s, 70s, 80s for sure. Like those people are all in their 40s and 50s now, and they're just total children. Where any stressor, where any outside viewpoint, you go, let's put all things on the table. Let's have an open, honest discussion. Disagree without becoming disagreeable, without ad hominems, and they just can't do it. They literally can't do it. And don't get me wrong, it's a challenge for some of our side too, but ultimately more of us can do it because we always had to grow up on the outside. It's like we're over target because they go, aren't you guys in an echo chamber too? The right wing goes, no, because the left wing media in schools your whole life has been pushing left wing belief system. For us to buck the system and go into the far right means we're breaking out of the matrix, where the left wing is just going further into the matrix. If you're getting debanked, you're over target, and that only happens to the right wing. The extreme nationalist, yeah, that's what called speaking truth to power is. When the banks take away your accounts and social media kicks you off, where they try to unperson you. And the left wing thinks they're raging against the machine, and they're supported by Bank of America. And I feel bad for them because they really think they're doing something. And you look at the right wing, it's like, yeah, these people lost their bank accounts, they're getting evicted, they can't even get on social media to defend themselves, they don't have any payment processors, because they're the ones who are over target, and the left wing are just the useful idiots. Anyway, I hope there wasn't too many hot words for YouTube on this. Like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Subscribestar. Thanks to everyone over there. By all means, mail me some comic books in my mailbox. Yeah, I have no problem shilling online, or some cool little pocket knives. I use those for gardening quite a bit. And I'll see you guys all next episode.